There are various different providers that conduct pre-employment assessment tests. The most popular ones are Indeed.com, SkillCheck, IKM, Kinexa, Pruvit, Cubix, Seville, eSkills.com, and there are a lot of others. Employer typically hires one of these companies to arrange the test with the candidate. Depending upon the position you're applying for, as a candidate, you will most likely face a pre-employment numerical reasoning test with various levels of difficulty. Numerical reasoning tests generally focused on a number of numerical skills which have day-to-day use in virtually every business environment. For example, additions, subtractions, multiplications, divisions, averages, percentages, and ratios. It also ensures that the candidate has a good grasp and can solve business problems using the data presented and can help company make good business decisions. Welcome to online training for everyone. I'm about to show you top numerical reason test questions and answers. I will also provide you with answers, explanations, and walkthroughs to help you get ready for the real test. I will also share with you some tips, tricks, and hacks on how to best prepare and pass the test. These questions are in no particular order, so make sure to watch the entire video from the beginning to the end to make sure that you can get ready for the test. Knowing answers to these questions helped a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure it will help you as well. Take a moment and click the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen and make sure to share, comment, and ask me any questions you might have. I'm happy to answer every question I receive. And now, let's go ahead and get started. So here's the question, which is frequently used as part of numerical reasoning and logical reasoning tests. Find the next number of the below sequence. And you have series of numbers, 30, 29, 27, 24, 20, 15, and you have a choices, 4 different choices, 10, 9, 11, and 8. Which one do you think is right? And how would you even approach answering something like this? The key to answer something like this, in these types of questions in general, is to detect the pattern. So you see the pattern here is you increase the number every time you go from one number to the next. 30 is 1 more than 29, and 27 is 2 more than 29. 24 is 3 more than 27, 20 is 4 more than 24, and 15 is 5 more than 20. So the next difference would be 6, and 15 minus 6 would be 9. Let's recap. So next number in the sequence is less than the current number. 29 is less than 30, 27 is 2 less than 29, and 24 is 3 less than 27. And you can continue the sequence once you detect it. And final number must be 6 less than 15, which is 9. So the correct answer is B, which is 9. Hopefully you've got this one right. Now let's look at the question. Find the missing value using the pattern. You see the 3 by 3 box, and one of the values in this box is missing. So what is the pattern? And there are 4 choices. We have A, B, C, and D, right? And obviously you would have to find the pattern and calculate the value. So what do you guys think is the right answer here? Before I reveal the right answer, let me try to discuss with you the pattern. So you see 1, 2, and 3, right? But then this one, 2, 4, and 6. So it's not sequential, so it's not like you go 1 plus 1 equals 2 plus 1 equals 3. There is a different type of pattern here. And the right pattern here is that 1 plus 2 equals 3, right? And then 2 plus 4 equals 6. And once you know the pattern, you can easily calculate that 3 plus 6 equals 9. So the right answer here is choice C. Let's validate. And you're absolutely right. The right choice is choice C, and this is exactly the logic that I just presented to you. Hopefully you've got this one right. Now let's look at another pattern type question. Which number should come next in the pattern? And then you have pattern of numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. So let's first determine what's the pattern here. Obviously there are 4 choices, but the result here is calculated based on the pattern that we would need to determine. Which one do you guys think is the right one here? Well, let's look. So we have 1, 1, and then 1 plus 1 equals 2, then 1 plus 2 equals 3, Then we have 2 plus 3 equals 5, and then you can kind of keep going. So to calculate the next number, it's basically the sum of the previous two numbers. So 8 plus 13 is 21. So the right choice here is choice B, which is 21. And this is the explanation, that the pattern here is really the sum of previous two numbers. Hopefully you've got this one right. Now let's look at the reasoning question where you need to complete the sentence. Read below sentence and give the correct answer. Book is to reading as fork is to, and then you need to pick one of the four choices. Painting, writing, eating, and lifting. So what do you think is the right choice? I think it's pretty obvious here. But let's look at the right answer. So the correct answer is obviously eating, right? Because book is to reading. This is an activity associated with reading, as fork is to eating. You use fork during the meal consumption. So the correct choice is C. And that's because forks are used during dining and meal consumption. Hopefully you've got this one right. Why you might consider subscribing to this channel. This is one of the fastest way to learn and get prepared for Excel assessment test. Skills you learn are helpful today and in the future. You get answers to your questions. You have opportunity to help other people. And you have experienced professionals who already subscribe to this channel and ready to help you with any answers that you need. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. Now let's look at the question where you tested not just how well you know English, but also how well can you operate with the letters and take guesses based on the questions asked. A lot of times this types of questions used in the verbal reasoning tests and in a lot of other tests as well. For example, psychometric tests or logic reasoning tests. These types of questions we see all the time. So the question, which of the following can be arranged to a 5-letter English word? And there are 4 choices with 5 letters of the words, and you kind of would need to look at each choice and you would need to take a guess which one would be the one which leads to a specific English word. And obviously nobody gives you the English word, so you would have to take a guess on the word and combine these letters so they will be represented by the specific English word. So which one do you think is the right choice? A couple suggestions here. You see choice A has inside of these letters English word goat. So typically it's the wrong choice because typically you wouldn't be able to easily rearrange this word into something else. Typically, and again it's only typically, but you would want to start with the letter somewhere in the middle. And the right choice here is choice B, and it's the word shape. That's really the word, that the end result of it. You don't have a way of knowing, right, because you don't know what the end word is. So you would have to look realistically at all the different choices and see if you can combine them. But I would start with the middle letter because typically they try to trick you, and first letter is typically not the one that starts this new word. So find more exercises like this. This one was tricky. This one was difficult. Very few people guess it right. But it takes practice to get these types of questions correctly. So make sure Google or find on the internet these types of verbal reasoning questions and see if you can get better at this. Can I ask you to do me a favor? If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up to tell us that you need more content like this. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. So let's look at another tricky question. What number is the best match? And we have 8 to 4 would be 10 to question mark. So what do you think is the right one here? Let's look at the answer. The best answer here is 4 is the half of 8. So the question mark would be half of 10. And in that case, half of 10 is 5. So that's the number you should choose. Now, the tricky part of this question, some people may mistakenly select 20, which would be double of 10. So make sure you recognize this and don't make this mistake. Hopefully you've got this one right. Now let's look at the question, which tests your knowledge of working with shapes, patterns, and numbers. Select an arrow which logically belongs in the rectangle with the question mark. Here on the screen, you see 3 by 3 box. Each row of the box and each column of the box has arrows. One arrow is missing. Which arrow do you think is missing? The key here is to identify the pattern. Each row and each column contains unique arrows. In the first row, we have arrow pointing to the right, upper right, and then to the upper left. Then upper left, right, and upper right. So here we have upper right, and then we have arrow pointing to the upper left, and what's missing is the arrow pointing to the right. And that would be the right answer. And the arrow pointing to the right would be choice A. And this is the explanation. So each row has 3 arrows. All 3 arrows are directed to 3 directions, and they are unique. According to the pattern, correct answer is A, because arrow which is directed to the right is missing in the 3rd row. Hopefully you got this one right. So can you tell us how many questions did you answer correctly? Please post in the comments of this video to share with others. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. Now let's look at the question which tests your knowledge of numerical reasoning. A girl starts to run at the speed of 5 miles per hour. After 1 hour, a boy starts to run at 10 mile per hour speed from the same location and going in the same direction. How long will it take for the boy to catch up with the girl? And we have 4 choices here: 1 hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1.5 hours. What do you think is the right choice? The correct answer here is A, 1 hour, and here's the reasoning. Boy has twice of the girl's speed, and for boy it will only take half the time to run the same distance compared to the girl. After an hour, girl already ran for 5 miles, and she will run another 5 miles in the next hour. Boy, on the other hand, will run 10 miles an hour. Girl will run 10 miles in 2 hours, and for the boy it will take only 1 hour to run 10 miles. So boy will reach the girl in 1 hour. Hopefully you've got this one right. Here's another tricky question which can confuse you easily during the test. Bob is 6 years old and his sister is a half of his age. When Bob is 30, what would be the age of his sister? And there are 4 choices: 20, 15, 25, and 27. Which one do you think is right? And obviously, as you might have figured out, the correct answer is D, 27. Bob's sister is 3 when Bob is 6, and Bob becomes 30 after 24 years. And that's why his sister must be 27 years old. Another way to look at it, there is a 3-year difference. When Bob is 30, his sister would be 30 minus 3, which would be 27. Hopefully you've got this one right. Here's the question which tests your knowledge of working with negative numbers. Calculate minus 100 plus 45. Here, keep in mind that minus 100 is very tricky. Some people just don't see this minus sign right before the 100. And there are 4 choices: minus 145, 145, minus 55, and then 55. So what do you think is the right answer? And obviously the correct answer is C, which is minus 55. And the way we calculate this equation is we can move minus 100 after 45. So the new equation might look like this: 45 minus 100, which would be exactly minus 55. Hopefully you've got this one correctly as well. A lot of you are interested and asking me, how can I help others? One of the ways you can help other people is by sharing the latest questions that you see on Excel interview and assessment test, and how you answered them. Please share the questions you recently encountered in the comments section of this video. If you know the answers, please share them as well. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. And now let's look at the question which confused tons of people during the test. How many squares are in this picture? And you have choices of 16, 29, 30, and 32. Which one do you think is right? The confusion part of this question comes with the fact that squares are not only the small squares that's shown in the picture. So if you do only small squares, the answer would be 16. But you can have this area as a square, you can have this area as a square, and large area is also a square. So once you calculate all of those, you will get to the correct answer. And the correct answer is 30, because there are 16 small squares, 9 squares which would be created using 4 small squares, 4 squares which can be created using 9 small squares, and 1 big square. So that when we come out with the answer 30. So you kind of have to know how to calculate it a little bit. But this question we see a lot as part of numerical reasoning tests and psychometric tests. So I just want to make sure that you guys are prepared. Let's look at another tricky question. Which one of the four are the least like the other three? And then we need to choose the correct answer. Tiger, cow, rabbit, or deer. Which one do you think is right? The tricky part of this question is that all of these animals are mammals. But there are three animals, cow, rabbit, and deer, that eat grass. And tiger is a predator. So the correct answer is A, which is tiger. So hopefully you've got this one right. It's a tricky one, and it tests your knowledge of exclusion, meaning that you need to read the test question correctly, and then you need to find out the correct choice. Hopefully you've got this one right. I'd like to ask you to participate in our daily Excel assessment test challenge. I post new question every day in the community tab of this channel and give you an opportunity to answer this and try it. And I post the answer in the comments next day. So please make sure to check it out and test your knowledge. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. Now let's look at the very complex question which you see a lot during logical reasoning tests, psychometric tests, and the numerical reasoning tests. Find the correct shape to continue the series. And what we have here, we have 3 by 3 matrix with 8 shapes populated and 1 shape is missing. There are 4 choices as usual, but in order for you to calculate the right shape, you need to determine the pattern. And in fact, there are 2 patterns here on this screen. Can you figure it out? Do you know what the right answer is? As I mentioned, there are 2 patterns here. One is there is a pattern for the shape. Which shape would you choose? And second pattern is the pattern for the lines. And where is the right location for the line itself? Now let's go through the detection of the shape pattern first. So the shape pattern is triangle, square, and then the circle. Right? So triangle, square, and then next one would be the circle. So we have a circle, that's the right value here, but all of this are the circles. So this was helpful, but not by much. But it just tells us that we are detecting the first pattern. And here, if you want to confirm, we have square, circle, and then triangle. Now, the most important part here is to determine on which side of the shape the lines should be located. And what we have here, we have 4 locations, as you can see in the answer. 1 location on the top, right, left, and bottom. So how would you know where's the right location for the circle shape? So let's look closely here and let's detect the pattern here for the line location. The line location starts with the bottom, right, and then top. So you see it's going counterclockwise. So if you imagine the clock with the clockwise rotation, then this would be counterclockwise. And let's see if we are correct and we have a pattern here. So we have bottom, right, top. Then we have left, bottom. So that still matches the counterclockwise pattern. And then we have left, bottom, right. So I think the missing shape here would be the one before the left, which would be on the top. So the right answer in this case would be A, because here we have a circle which matches the circle's pattern, and then we have lines located at the top. Let's verify to confirm that. And as you can see, the correct answer is A. So let's recap. There are 2 patterns you need to detect in this assignment. Patterns for the shapes and pattern for the line location. Shapes are displayed in the particular order. Triangle, square, circle, that's really the pattern for the shapes. And pattern for lines are in a counterclockwise order. So correct answer is A. Hopefully you've got this one right. You will see a lot of these types of questions in the assessment test. Let's look at the question, which is frequently used as part of numeric reasoning test and aptitude test. Find the correct shape to continue the series. And you're presented with the 3 by 3 box, which contains multiple shapes, and 1 shape is missing in one of the boxes. There are 4 choices. Can you detect which one is the correct one? Before I jump to the final answer, let me teach you how to detect patterns in these types of questions. There are 3 different patterns that we can see here. First pattern is pattern in the shapes. We have circle and triangle in the first row. We have square and triangle in the second row. And then we have square and circle in the third row. The second pattern here is the pattern of one shape inside of the other. So what you see here is that every row contains one shape inside of the other. In the first row, it's a triangle inside of the circle. In the second row, it's the triangle inside of the square. And the third one is missing this pattern, which tells us that it should be the pattern of one shape inside of the other, which is not a big help because all of the four choices here do contain the shapes, one shape inside of the other. But let's skip that comment and let's just jump to the third pattern. And the third pattern is the dot in the middle of the shape. So you see that every row contains at least one shape where dot is inside of the shapes that are one inside of the other. So knowing this information, we have choices A and D because we narrowed it down and recognized that we have to have a dot inside of the shape. Now, which one do you think is right? Knowing the first pattern, we can exclude choice A because in the third row, we have combination of squares and circles. So the correct choice is D because it matches all three patterns. We have circle inside of the square and then we have dot in the middle. So the correct answer is D. Hopefully you've got this one right. Can I ask you to do me a favor? If you know someone who is getting ready for interview or Excel assessment test, please share this video with them. This is going to help them pass and get their dream job. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. And now let's look at the question which is frequently used as part of numerical reasoning tests. What is the number that is 1/2 of 1/4 of 1/10 of 800? And there are four choices: 20, 12, 5, and 10. How would you answer something like this? Let's go ahead and take a look. To answer this question, you need to do operations in reverse. So 1/10 of 800 is 80, and then 1/4 of 80 is 20, and 1/2 of 20 is 10. So the correct answer is D, 10. And let's recap. This is the explanation. To get to this answer, you need to go in reverse. 1/10 of 800 is 80, 1/4 of 80 is 20, and 1/2 of 20 is 10. So the correct answer is D. Hopefully you've got this one right. Now let's look at the question which is frequently used as part of verbal reasoning, aptitude test, and psychometric tests. If you rearrange the letters CIF, AIP, C, you would have the name of and there are four choices: country, city, ocean, and river. So the tricky part of this question is that these are not the final answers. You can't rearrange this set of letters to get to the country. You can't rearrange it to get to the ocean letter or to any one of these letters. It is country name that would be a result of this rearrangement, or ocean name that would be, or city name or river name. So let's see if you can get this one correctly. Unfortunately, there is no easy way to prepare yourself for these types of questions. And the correct answer here is Pacific. So the answer is Pacific Ocean, right? But there's no way for you to know this. You probably heard the term of Pacific Ocean, but the best practice to answer these types of questions would be to go and start with the smallest one, and smallest one would be ocean. There are only very few oceans, and you're probably much better off starting and going and counting through all these oceans that are available. And one of those oceans would be Pacific Ocean. Because if you start to go with city, river, and country, there are too many countries, too many cities, and too many rivers, and the expectation is that you would not know all of this, and you can't answer. So that's the best way to come to these questions: identify what is the smallest number of items that's on the list, and then loop through these items to identify the right one. So going back, is Pacific Ocean is the answer. And hopefully you will have the tips and tricks to get these types of questions correctly. A lot of people ask, how can I help on this channel? One of the best ways to help is to help other people answer the questions that they're getting. If you know the answer to the question that you see in comments, please post the answer in the comment section of this video. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. Let's look at the question which tests your knowledge of logical reasoning, which is very frequently used as part of psychometric tests and aptitude tests. Which of the four is least like the other three? And you have four choices: car, bus, bicycle, and van. Multiple different options here. You can arrange all these items by size, by weight, or maybe by something else. Do you think you know the answer? And as you might have figured out, the correct answer is C, which is bicycle, because all of these 4 choices are vehicles, but 3 of them need fuel. So answer is the bicycle, which doesn't need fuel, which is not like all of the others. Hopefully you've got this one right. So here is the tricky question, which is frequently used as part of logical reasoning tests in numerical reasoning tests. The day after tomorrow is 4 days before Monday. What day is it today? And you have 4 choices: Sunday, Monday, Friday, and Saturday. And the reason I'm laughing is because this tells me that you always should come to those types of tests after a very good night's sleep and try to schedule them in the morning. That's the best advice I can give you. Because sometimes if you come to this type of test tired, you wouldn't even understand what they're asking you to do. So, do you have an idea how to answer this? Let's take a look at the answer. Again, most of the time you have to use reverse method to get to the right answer. And the reverse method tells us that 4 days before Monday is Thursday, and day before Thursday is Tuesday. If tomorrow is Tuesday, today is Monday. So the correct answer is B, Monday. Hopefully you've got this one right. Thanks for watching. Hope you have learned something and had fun at the same time. Please make sure to check out my other relevant videos. I know they helped a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure they will help you as well. Please consider premium resources from our ebook store at howtoanalyzedata.net. It has tons of resources to help you get ready for the interview and assessment test. Also, please make sure to check out for relevant downloads in the description of this video. If you find a mistake in my recommendations, please do not judge us too harshly, as we are only trying to help, but mistakes are unavoidable. Please post the correct answer in the comment section of this video to help people succeed in the test. Take a moment and click the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen, and make sure to like, share, comment, and ask me any questions. I am happy to answer every question I receive. All the best on your interview and assessment test.